Yeah, it is just gone 40 minutes past 6 p.m. Central African Time. You are tuned into Salam Media. My name is Zahid Jadwat, coming to you live from the Independent Electoral Commission's Results Operations Centre here in Pretoria. It is, of course, an important day for South Africa, isn't it? Today is the local government elections day, and 3.6 million people have turned out at the polls to cast their vote and to exercise this democratic right. And we are coming to you live as we have been from this morning, bringing you all the latest with regards to the elections. Much has been happening this morning and throughout the day as well. In fact, we are expecting a press conference from the Independent Electoral Commission to speak about what exactly the progress with regards to the elections this important day. Right now, I think we're going to cross over to my colleague Salilo Makwadiri, who is also here at the ROC, and he's on the ground, and he's going to join us to bring us up to speed with what's been happening here at the ROC. Good evening, Salilo. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Zaida. How are you? Can you see me? Can you hear me clearly?
I am well, thanks, and yourself, Salilo. I can see you and I can hear you clearly.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm at the floor of the ROC. So this is basically where everything happens. This is where the different voting, the different parties are stationed. I'm sure if I can just scoot just behind me, you can see the different parties. They're all here. They have their representatives here, just basically monitoring, the proceedings of the day from the morning right until now. We're going to be chatting to a few of them. One of those, it will be the EFF Treasury General. She should be chatting to us about, their thoughts and their feelings about today's proceedings. We'll be also be talking to ATM's representative. They're also, making their mark in these elections and campaigning really hard. So we're going to be chatting to them also about their thoughts and feelings about, what's been happening throughout the day and, their hopes as the votes keep coming from the different parts of the country.
Yes, indeed, and 23,000 polling stations across the country. Of course, this is a hotly contested election. It's the sixth local government election since the dawn of democracy. So can you just bring us up to speed? I heard you mention that you were going to speak to the EFF as well, a representative, to just hear from them their thoughts and feelings about what has been happening today.
Yeah. Firstly, I want us maybe to recap to some of the live gathering of the information and the coverage of the local government elections. We've been to some parts of Johannesburg, the greater Johannesburg South, and some parts of the north. We've been to Alex, Ward 92, where it's another hotly contested area. We've been to Soweto early in the morning with the team, and I think the general consensus and what I've gathered from some of the places that myself and the rest of the team have visited is the voter turnout. It's been really disappointing. It's been really low in comparison to the elections before, and that's one of the issues of concern. I think that we might need to understand it a bit further going forward.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, the IEC has actually issued a statement just earlier on saying that they are actually grateful and thankful to the various to the numerous people who have actually showed up at the polls today, mentioning upward of 3 million people. So I think what you've seen on the ground also, would you say there's a bit of a difference with regards to what the IEC is saying compared to your actual experience on the ground?
Yeah, I think it might be the difference of maybe the times that we might have visited those various areas. I think the trend has always been early in the morning the voting stations would be really full, and then as the day progresses, midday from 12 right around, let's say around 3, they'll be generally empty, and then you'd see the numbers at the polling stations pick up again later in the day right until the closing around 9 p.m. So I think there might be a correlation, but it might be an issue of the general trend that is actually the case as the elections progress.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Salilo. In a few minutes, we're actually going to be crossing over to John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance. He's going to be joining us telephonically to speak to us about today, his party's experience today and thoughts about the procedure that has, happened today. But you did mention that you were going to speak to the EFF as well. Can you just let the listeners know by when we can expect to hear from these parties?
Okay, so right next to me, I have the ATM's representative, so he's going to be chatting to us briefly about their thoughts and also what they've noticed with regards to the trends of voting and also how they're generally feeling about the election. So I'm just going to chat to him now. Great. As the ATM, maybe if you can just paint a picture for us about you guys generally, and so far it's just a few hours before the polls close. How you guys feeling and your general thoughts about the proceedings?
Well, honestly, by this time we haven't received critical issues that we can say they need urgent attention. Yes, there are those matters where there's a misunderstanding between party agents and presiding officers. There's been some issues of voting stations that were not open due to some protest earlier in the morning, which was sorted. So other things were just following. But so far, we think that there's nothing that we can say it can make these elections to be regarded as not free at this stage. But also there's an issue of the lower turnout now since the morning, if you compare what has happened at previous other years. But we know that it has been a tradition that during the voting, the youth will come out from 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 to 7. And this is what we're expecting now, that we might see the large numbers of young people coming out to cast their vote. And there were much interest after the counting from 12 down. We want to see that.
And as the numbers start trickling in, I just want to ask about personally the ATM's feeling about some of the wards that you're contesting for. Are you guys confident? As a relatively, with all due respect, a smaller party?
Well, definitely we are. We are confident. Remember, we are contesting the local government for the first time. So it's not that if we get 100 councillors, it's a loss. It's whatever we get. It's going to be good for us. But we are much confident that we might shock the nation come tomorrow afternoon.
What would you guys consider as a victory?
As I've said, that it is our first time to contest the local government. Now, there are provinces that were expected that we might perform much better. But if you ask me what can be the victory, anything from 1,000 councillors afterwards will be our victory. But as I've said, we have not contested it before. So even 500, 300, 400, 200 councillors across, we are still a victory to us. But we are confident that we might even do much better as compared to what we did in 2019. Remember, in 2019 as well, we were not the favorite of any political aspect, any analyst. But we managed to get 2 seats in the National Assembly, 1 seat in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, 1 seat in the province of Eastern Cape. And since then, we've been growing day by day and engaging issues of governance in Parliament. So it's only you guys who call us small party. Wait for tomorrow afternoon.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there you have it. ATM, saying they are not a relatively small party. They've been doing really well when you look from 2019 to where they are now. But for now, Zahid, you can take over. As soon as I have the EFF Treasury General with me, I'll be looking back to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Salilo, for that comprehensive overview and, of course, reaction from the party, the African Transformation Movement, speaking about their thoughts of today's proceedings. Right now, we're going to actually cross over to John Steenhuisen, who is the leader of the Democratic Alliance, to get his thoughts and feelings about how the election day has progressed. We are joined now by John Steenhuisen telephonically. Good evening, John. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Good evening, salam alaikum to you and salam alaikum to all the listeners. Great to be with you this evening.
Well, John, today has been a really important day for all the political parties in South Africa, in fact, for the electorate as well. For the Democratic Alliance, how would you describe today's events? Are you satisfied with the way things have gone so far?
Well, we're very satisfied with the turnout from our perspective. Our GA song will start to come out, but completely dissatisfied with the shocking performance by the Independent Electoral Commission today. Widespread failures, long queues, these voter management devices have been a complete and unmitigated disaster. There's 150 voting stations across the country where voting came to a standstill. Really, it's really been a very, very poor showing from the IEC. They've got one job to do, and they've got 5 years to prepare for it. And it's been a real disappointment there that they've really started now to compromise the ability of citizens to cast their vote.
And of course the IEC yesterday in a press briefing did mention that they were actually prepared for this election. Were you confident in with the IEC's statement yesterday?
No, I haven't been confident about anything the IEC has said for most of the last year and a half. The same organisation told us we were going to be in the grips of the fourth wave right now. We absolutely are one of the lowest transmission infection rates. But the point is that we warned them over the special voting weekend that these voter management devices were a problem, that they weren't working then, even with low volumes. Now you've added high volumes in, and there's been a wholesale systemic collapse of them in large parts of the country, and it's going to compromise the election because it means that citizens are not being able to cast their votes because of the inefficiency and the ineffectiveness of the IEC there. They've got one job. Their one job is to ensure free and fair elections so that people can cast their votes as easily and quickly as possible. Instead, they've made it as difficult as possible. I've just come from a voting station, and there must be 150 people in the queue waiting, moving at snail's pace because the voter management devices that control us aren't working properly. But you know, the good thing is that people are determined, and every one of the people I've spoken to are absolutely determined to make sure that their vote is cast.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we have received reports during the course of the day that DA's member Helen Ziller has been allegedly assaulted. Could you speak to us just a little bit about that briefly?
Yes, it looks like Ms. Ziller was assaulted by a very burly police officer in Nelson Mandela Bay. We've got footage of it now. She's laid a charge of assault, and we hope that the investigation is going to bring that particular individual to justice. Completely heavy-handed. You don't treat people like that, especially citizens, and you don't treat people who are going about their democratic duty in that particular manner. So I certainly hope that that police officer is going to face the full marks of the law.
And this is, of course, the 6th local government election since the dawn of democracy. It is perhaps by far one of the most hotly contested elections ever since. And for many parties, I think this is a really important day. How confident are you with regards to your party's performance in this very election?
Well, I think we've put everything into it. We started our campaign early. We were the first to put up posters up, our deposits paid, our mayoral candidates announced, and our list winners. I've been campaigning for the last 4 months, crisscrossing the country, visiting every corner of South Africa. I've visited every one of the provinces. I've visited many municipalities. I'm confident we've done what we need to do to get the DA's message of hope and change out to as many communities as possible, and let them know this election is about service delivery. That's what it matters. That's the big key issue. And I hope that message is found traction in those communities, that people come out and vote for better service.
Yes, indeed. And I think we've just got a few minutes before the IEC briefs the media in a bit. We'll also take that live as well. But just quickly before I let you go, Mr. Steenhuisen, the talks of coalitions. So I know coalitions is something relatively new to the South African political landscape. It began in the 2016 local government elections. We've seen how it has occurred in Pretoria. It has happened in Johannesburg. And I think there's still quite a bit of discussion with regards to the success of these coalitions. Have they worked for South Africa? Have they not worked for South Africa in the past 5 years? And I think it seems as though in the aftermath of this particular election, we're going to see coalitions having to be formed once again. What is the DA's stance with regards to coalitions? Are you open to coalitions, and if so, with which parties are you willing to enter coalitions into?
Well, we've gone into this election making sure that we try and get a majority where we can, because coalitions are necessary. They're not easy. It's a lot harder to deliver on your program if you've got a number of hands on the steering wheel. The best run municipalities in the country are all of those that are run by the DA with its own majority. Cocha in Eastern Cape, Midvaal in Gauteng, Modimolle Mokopong in Limpopo, and the metro of the city of Cape Town. These all have their own DA majorities, and we've been able to really change things. But the focus today is on getting as many votes in the box. Tomorrow, if we fall short of majorities, we'll look at forming coalitions, but only with parties who share the four core values of non-racialism, respect for the rule of law and constitution, a social market economy, and a capable state without cater deployments, and where you have an administration that works for the people and not the politicians. If parties are willing to subscribe to it, we'll be willing to talk to them. And we'll be open to talks with any parties that share those values.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
That was John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, speaking to us about his party's thoughts and opinions as the nation still heads to the polls. In fact, the nation still has up until 9 p.m. to cast their vote. So if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you head to the polls and get your vote cast, get your voice heard as well. It is a really important day for South Africa as a whole and for democracy. We've got to uphold our democracy and sustain it. And one of the best ways to do so is, of course, to show up at the polls, make your voice heard, and of course, that's the best way to participate in this democracy. We are waiting now for the Independent Electoral Commission to brief the media. They should be briefing the media in a few moments, basically giving a rundown of the events today, the progress of the elections. More than 3 million people have already cast their votes, and many more expected as time goes by up until the voting stations close. But right now we're going to take a quick ad break, and when we get back, of course, we'll give you that live press briefing from the IEC.